You ever get that feeling that what we read in history books is only half the story? Like, what if all this stuff happening down here on Earth is just part of something way, way bigger? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're going to look at history from a totally different angle, through the lens of the book of Revelation. I mean, think about it. When we write history, we're kind of stuck, right? We can only look backwards at what's already happened, and only here on this planet. But Revelation, it claims to show us the whole picture. Not just the past, but the future. Not just Earth, but what's going on in heaven, too. It's all about how events up there directly pull the strings for what happens down here. So let's get one thing straight. The word apocalypse, it makes you think of disaster movies, right? End of the world stuff. But its original Greek meaning apocalypsis is actually an unveiling. It's about pulling back a curtain, actually two curtains, one hiding the future and another one hiding what's going on in heaven. And once they're both drawn back, boom, you can finally see the whole show. Okay, so before we get to all the chaos on Earth, Revelation starts us off somewhere totally different. It takes us right to the command center, to heaven. You see, the story doesn't kick off with disaster. It starts with total, absolute order and security. And this scene in chapter 4, wow, it's just full of incredible beauty, color, and this overwhelming sense of peace. You know, you watch the news and it feels like the world's spinning out of control. But this vision, it shows God firmly on his throne. He is in absolute control. Nothing, and I mean nothing, is happening that isn't part of his plan or at the very least with his permission. So here's the deal. There's this scroll, right? And it holds the key to history's final chapter. And God wants a human being to open it. But nobody is worthy. Nobody. Then John sees Jesus, but he's described in two incredible ways. First, as the Lion of Judah. That's all about pure strength and kingship. But he's also a ram, one that was slain but is now alive. It's this wild combination of ultimate power and ultimate sacrifice that makes him the only one who can unseal the future. And the moment that Ram takes the scroll, everything changes. The whole vibe shifts. That peaceful, worshipful scene in heaven, it gives way to something else entirely. As the first series of judgments, the 7 seals are opened, unleashing absolute turmoil on the earth. Okay, so check this out. The first 4 seals are these 4 horsemen, and what's fascinating is that they represent disasters we humans cause. It's a chain reaction, and the colors tell the story. First, you've got the white horse. That's military aggression, conquest. What follows war? The red horse, right? Widespread bloodshed, taking peace from the world. And after that comes the black horse, famine and scarcity. And what follows famine? Yep, the pale green horse of disease and pestilence. These are things we see all the time. But Revelation says one day they're going to gallop across the entire globe. But it doesn't stop there. The 5th seal, it's not something you see, it's something you hear. It's the sound of martyrs crying out for justice. Then, wham, the 6th seal hits with physical force. We're talking global earthquakes, the sun going dark, just a wave of pure terror for anyone who isn't ready. And the 7th seal? It's eerie. A sudden, total silence in heaven. Like the deep breath before the plunge. And then a massive earthquake hits Earth, setting the stage for what's coming next. So if the seals were all about the mess humans make, the next 2 rounds, the trumpets and the bowls, are different. This is when nature itself seems to turn against humanity. And believe me, the intensity is about to get cranked way up. This chart lays it out perfectly. Just look at how this whole thing escalates. You start with the seals, human-caused, hitting about 1/4 of the Earth. Fierce, right? Then you move to the trumpets. Now it's environmental, hitting 1/3 of the Earth. It gets fiercer. And then you have the bowls. These are direct cosmic judgments from God, and they hit everything. They are the absolute fiercest of all. It's a straight-up crescendo of disaster. So with the trumpets, the world we know just starts to break. Seriously, just try to picture it. 1/3 of the land is scorched. 1/3 of all sea life dies in polluted waters. 1/3 of all fresh water becomes poison. And 1/3 of the sunlight is just gone. I mean, how do you even begin to survive that? And just when you think it can't get worse, the bowls are poured out. This is the grand finale of plagues. And these aren't partial anymore. We're talking total catastrophe. Painful sores erupt on everyone. The oceans, they don't just get polluted, they literally turn to blood. Kills everything. The rivers too. And the sun, instead of getting dimmer, it goes into overdrive, scorching people with unbearable heat. This is it, the fiercest, most direct universal catastrophe. Okay, so with all this escalating horror, you have to be asking a pretty important question, right? How on earth do God's people get through all this? Well, Revelation isn't just a list of disasters. It's clever. It actually pauses the action right between the sixth and seventh judgment of each series to give us these little interludes. And these interludes show us exactly what's happening to believers and how they're able to endure. There's this perfect metaphor for what it's like. John is told to eat this little scroll, and at first it tastes sweet like honey. Why? Because that's the good news. Jesus wins. The kingdom is coming. But then it turns sour in his stomach. That's the awful reality of everything that has to happen first. And that's exactly the perspective for believers, holding on to that sweet, ultimate victory while you're enduring the sour, terrible present. And that sour reality, it hits its absolute peak in the final interlude. And here's that heaven to earth connection again. Satan gets kicked out of heaven for good, and he is furious. So he unleashes his final plan on earth. He sets up a world government run by this unholy trinity. You've got Satan as the power behind the curtain. You've got the Antichrist, this super charismatic political leader. And you've got the false prophet, his religious hype man, doing fake miracles to fool everyone. And their goal? Total control of the world's economy. And how do they enforce this control? With this, the infamous number. It's a mark on your hand or your forehead, and without it, you can't buy or sell anything. Nothing. So it forces this impossible choice on every single person on the planet. Take the mark and pledge your loyalty to this evil regime, or face starvation and persecution. To survive, you have to resist. Okay, so for all of you who like to see how the puzzle pieces fit together, how do these three sets of disasters, the seals, the trumpets, and the bowls, actually line up? What's the timeline here? Well, scholars basically have three main theories. One is successive. They happen in order, one after the other. Seals, then trumpets, then bowls. Simple. Another is simultaneous. They all happen at the same time, just different aspects of the same chaos. But the one that seems to really fit the story's flow is the crescendo model. They start one after another, but they start speeding up, overlapping, getting more and more intense until they all smash together at the very end in one final massive, world-changing catastrophe. So let's bring this all together. You've got chaos on earth, you've got total control in heaven, you've got this escalating timeline of events. What is the one big takeaway from all this? It's this. The world is going to be completely blindsided. People are going to be terrified, confused, asking what on earth is going on. But the whole point of this unveiling is so that believers won't be surprised. See, it's not about giving us a specific date to circle on the calendar. No, the real point, the crucial message, is that this was all written to prepare us, not for a date, but for a state of being. It's about building a readiness, about knowing what's coming, so that when the worst happens, you're not panicking, you're prepared. You have certainty when everyone else has fear. And that brings us to the final question, the one that this entire book is really asking you. The world is going to be caught completely by surprise, but will you be? Will you be ready? Because that's the choice we're all left with.